riots in Leeds at the weekend. Residents in the diverse and vibrant area of Hare Hills flipped police cars, threw bricks and set fire to anything they could get their hands on. Or at least they tried to. I don't think this guy is getting his scout badge for lighting a fire anytime soon. Police turned up and then beat a hasty retreat when they realised there was nobody they could arrest without being called racist. Then they came back when there were reports of a white woman in her slippers who'd shouted at the rioters outside of her house, which is a racist hate crime of course, so they arrested her. She later said the police had arrested her for her own safety. Can't we go back to the old system of arresting criminals for our own safety instead of arresting potential victims? Residents justified the rioting, saying it was the fault of systemic racism and underinvestment and was mostly peaceful. The media response to the riots was insane. They made excuses for the rioters, they fawned over one Muslim man who tried to stop the rioting, and as usual gave themselves a hernia trying to deflect any blame from the people who are rioting and somehow say that the real problem is far-right bigots. The rioting took place in a predominantly Muslim area, but were reliably informed by prominent local Muslims that the rioting was all done by Romani or Roma or Romanians or Romans from Rome, and Muslims had nothing to do with it, although some of the rioters were caught on camera giving a chant that didn't sound very Romanian. This is the part of the country that elected this politician, Mohsin Ali, who screamed Allah Akbar during his victory speech.
Raise the voice of Palestine! Allahu Akbar!
After Mr. Ali was photographed at the riots, rumours spread on social media that he was involved in the carnage. Footage later appeared of him trying to stop the rioters burning stuff. While some commentators said he was just doing this for the cameras, I think he's genuine. He's obviously somebody who cares about his community. This was picked up by the mainstream media, who breathed an audible sigh of relief that they could deflect blame away from the obvious failure of multiculturalism and write stories that wouldn't get them accused of racism. The hero councillor who formed a human shield to stop violence escalating in Leeds riots. Moment controversial Leeds Green Party Gaza councillor Mohsin Ali heroically stops rioters from burning more things in riots. Green Party councillor dubbed Hero of Hare Hills after forming Human Shield to stop violence in Leeds. Look everybody, this one man who doesn't want to burn the city down is proof that multiculturalism has been an unmitigated flawless success. I mean, some people might say that not wanting to burn stuff to the ground is a pretty base level of morality rather than deserving of a medal. Is it not slightly patronising? Is it not revealing the bigotry of low expectations to say, well, you thought that they were bad, but we've actually found one that doesn't want to burn stuff? The Guardian ran an article, "We're in it together, how unrest in Leeds escalated and was diffused," as if the good people of Hare Hill had come together to save a cat stuck down a well. The article told how a number of BAME young people have made chains to stop people throwing things on the fire, but was rather less forthcoming about the ethnicity of the people actually throwing things on the fire. And the local council released a statement praising the diversity of the area as if that's an innate good thing that offsets the rioting. The Romanian and Roma community have played a fantastic role in the community and have contributed much to the diversity and richness of the Hare Hills. We want this work to continue and develop further work that makes Hare Hills an even better place to work and live. This just sounds sarcastic. It's uncontroversial to say that it's a shithole, and if you want it to be a better place to work, then people are going to have to get jobs. Somehow the media twisted everything so the villains of the evening were the far right, who weren't even rioting and didn't set fire to anything, but they did post on Twitter, which in many ways is much worse than setting fire to buses. Nigel Farage sparks anger over inflammatory Leeds riot comments. I mean, inflammatory here is being used in a very metaphorical sense, as opposed to the activity in Leeds, which was literally inflammatory because it was burning stuff. Far right blames Muslims and third world migrants for Leeds unrest. The unrest in Leeds is fodder for far-right disinformation. Leeds councillor urges residents to unite against racial hatred. The mayor of West Yorkshire said, "Dog whistle politics from people outside of our region who do not know our community or the facts are offensive and unwelcome." Oh, so outsiders aren't welcome, are they? Their ideas don't fit in. It's funny how you can say that about certain groups of people, but if you say it about other groups of people, it's a racist hate crime. Local MP Richard Burgess said, "Last night I was in Hare Hills until the early hours at a meeting listening to residents traumatised by Thursday, horrified by misinformation being spread about their area. Yeah, never mind the destruction and the violence and people worrying if their homes would burn down with their children inside. Someone's done a mean tweet spreading misinformation about the area. Were these people on Twitter who are upset about another riot far right? What even is far right anymore? Is far right if you don't like rioting? Imagine if the scenes in Harehill had played out at a demonstration by supposedly right-wing Brits. Do you think the media would be making excuses in the same way? Would they be spinning it as the legitimate grievances of the white working class community whose rioting was fiery but mostly peaceful? Would they focus on the example of one football lad who tried to stop them burning buses, which proves that football lads are actually our nation's greatest strength? Of course not. There was a supposedly far-right protest attended by thousands of people on June the 2nd. British people marched in London against unfair two-tier policing and nothing happened. No cars were flipped, nothing was burnt, there was no violence, and it was still condemned in the media. Football hooligans known for violence in attendance at Tommy Robinson rally. I mean, they might be known for violence, but they didn't actually commit any. Isn't this just prejudice? Nazi Tommy Robinson mobilises up to 5,000 in London. I mean, it's weird that the Nazi protests are the ones without anti-Semitic chants. Tommy Robinson marchers lead anti-Muslim chant in London demo. The anti-Muslim chant was Allah, Allah, who the F is Allah, to the tune of who the F is Alice. I mean, heaven forbid that someone in this country should have a sense of humour and not treat an imported ideology with the reverence it demands. Even the supposedly right-wing media said Tommy Robinson supporters shout out hate chant at far-right London demo. Looking at who was responsible for the violence, the people throwing bricks at police didn't look very far-right, although this would no doubt be reported in The Guardian as BAME youth coming together as a community to assist the authorities with the relocation of building materials. The people smashing up the police car didn't look very far-right either, and since this riot was sparked by authorities removing children who are at risk, it doesn't bode well for child safety that a pushchair is being used as a weapon. Police apparently just ran away from the situation, reportedly because they didn't have the resources to deal with it. But I suppose that dealing with the riots would have diverted essential resources away from them dancing at a pride parade. Police are literally paid to do this when they could be doing something else, like, I don't know, dealing with crime. Has anyone considered that? Apparently the Leeds riots started when children from a local Romanian family were taken into care by the authorities. Locals said they have no regrets about the riots and have blamed systemic racism towards the Romanian and Roma communities. Systemic racism. This is the language of critical race theory. It's mad that it's reached all the way from Harvard Law School through left-wing media and into the minds of people living in a ghetto in Northern England. Imagine how much better society could be if people were taught principles of self-reliance and hard work instead of how to absolve themselves of all responsibility and blame whitey. The Green Party councillor Mothin Ali blamed everyone except the rioters.
And what's happened is an absolute travesty what's happened. Our community has been let down for so long, whether it's by the local government, whether it's by the national government, whether it's by the local authorities. Our community has been badly let down, our community has been badly neglected, we've suffered massively from underinvestment.
Underinvestment? Oh yeah, I remember when the local authorities underinvested in me. Of course I burnt a bus. It's the natural reaction. Man, I've never had any government investment. Why are we importing people who need government investment? There's hard-working people desperate to get into the UK, and we're importing people who burn stuff if you don't give them enough money. Also, what would the government be investing in? What's the return on it? Is that guy who burnt the bus a potential Elon Musk? If the council just gave him 100 quid, he'd invent a new essential bit of technology. I mean, a self-lighting bus would probably save him and his buddies a lot of time. Now, if the council gives him 100 quid, he's going to buy 100 quid's worth of scratch cards and vapes.
We don't need outside agitators coming in. We stay here in our own communities. We carry on our daily lives. We carry on supporting each other. We carry on building our community. We don't need to get involved with any outside agitators, any people coming in from outside to try and cause problems, to try and sow division in our community. We don't need them. They're not welcome. We need to work together. We need to work to build our community. We need to build relations within our community, build a strong, resilient community. So we carry on doing that. We don't need the outsiders telling us what to do.
The way Mothin Ali talks about our community not needing any outsiders coming in to cause division. If a white person said this, it'd be condemned as far-right bigotry. It's funny how some people are allowed to have a community and not allow outsiders in. The authorities have now returned the children to their families, sending the message to the community that rioting works. Still, I suppose it's not the worst example of authorities in the north of England prioritising political correctness over children's safety. And while the police did make several arrests, most seem to be after the event and based on video footage of crimes committed. On the night, the only arrest that I saw was of this woman who'd seen the rioting mob outside of her house and, fearful of the fire spreading to her property, came out to remonstrate with them. Here she is explaining why she was arrested.
And then they started to come round the back of me. And then I had this from the police. We're arresting you for your own safety, they said.
Yeah, wrong.
That's all they kept saying was so I spent the entire night in a police cell.
It's a bit worrying if British people have to be arrested and put in a police cell to protect them from violent mobs. And these mobs are playing out in ethnic ghettos across Britain. Just last night there were protests outside Rochdale police station after a police officer was filmed kicking a Muslim man who'd apparently just broken a female police officer's nose. Hare Hills in Leeds is a diverse community of over 80 nationalities and ethnicities. It's a reminder that swathes of Britain are a third world country and that multiculturalism has failed. Instead of recognising this and doing anything to improve the situation by, I don't know, securing our borders or properly integrating arrivals, society finds it easier to punish anyone who complains. If you don't like foreigners rioting in your country, you're a far-right extremist committing a hate crime. If the riots are near your house and you shout at them, the police will arrest you. Why are they here in the first place? What sort of trade offer is this? Britain gives them homes and money and in return gets riots, hatred and grooming gangs? They're an insult to the millions of immigrants who've made Britain their home and integrate and contribute to our society. In fact, they're not just an insult, they're an existential threat to these immigrants. When the British people eventually tire of being taken advantage of, there's a real danger that good people will get caught up in the backlash. Sadly, there's no incentive for politicians on the left or on the right to change the situation. Tories want to fill the country with bodies to ensure cheap labour for their businesses and to push up property prices and rental yields. Labour want to fill the country with people because they believe that diversity equals strength, and also because the people coming in tend to vote left wing. There are some signs here that diversity isn't really a strength. The guy who was filmed with the lighter has been arrested and charged by police and has had to follow court proceedings through an interpreter because his English is inadequate. And around the world, diversity doesn't tend to equal strength. In fact, it tends to equal sectarian strife and civil war in places like the Balkans and Lebanon. But for the far left, this is a bonus. They think that this strife and the rise of Islamism will help them to depose their enemy, Western liberal democracy, and institute communism. And they could be right, although the lessons of countries such as Iran suggest that the left are feeding a monster that will kill them. Anyway, thanks for listening. If you want to bung me some beer money, there are links below, and if you want to support me making these videos, you can join my community of based gigachads on Patreon and get early access to stuff and exclusive content. And if you want to advertise on my videos, just get in touch. My videos are watched exclusively by rich people with big balls. Also, if you don't have a product to advertise, I'll happily take money to slag off your ex-wife or your ex-wife's Pilates instructor. Anyway, thanks for listening. I'm being Leo Kears. Bye. Bye bye.